Welcome, everyone. Usually, our Toast to the Arts and Parks show with the National Parks Arts Foundation airs every first Friday. Well, today, we're doing it on Thursday because tomorrow, Friday, is July 4th. And so, we want to honor our country. And so what we're going to be doing today is we're chatting with Rachel Mari Kimber. She has been on our show twice because she was the artist in residence, fall 2024 artist in residence at Saguaro National Park in Tucson, Arizona. She is based in Arizona, and she is joining us because her first single that she was working on is out from her residency. It is beautiful. For those who are catching this episode on YouTube, you just heard the whole piece. There are links in the episode notes for those who are listening on all the other platforms. You heard just a little segment, and we're going to close with a little segment, but I have all the links that you can go to Spotify and all that to go and listen and download and all that good stuff that to support musicians, independent artists. And that's a big part of what the National Parks Arts Foundation does. So welcome back. How are you, Rachel?
Hi, thanks for having me on the show again. I am very well, thanks.
Yeah, it's been a few months, right? And now we're in the dead of summer. So how's Arizona right now? Feeling a little toasty?
It is very toasty, and time has gone so fast because the residency was back in September last year.
Yeah.
That's what, it's like 7, 8, 9, like 9 months already, maybe 8
Yeah,
months.
I think, we kept in touch because we did 2 interviews with you and before, during, after kind of thing. And then you did a clip with us and dedicated a song for our Healing After Hurricane Helene and for Asheville event, that online event. So thank you for doing that. But what I remember, we've also stayed in communication on crickets, because we interviewed that insect man. And so I wanted to know, I know this song, we talked a little bit about you going on the riverbeds and when you were at Saguaro National Park and even just around Tucson, and you saw bats and birds, and then you had an experience with crickets. So did the crickets make it into this song is what I want to know, or is it strictly birds?
They did. They have their first debut in this song, and I'm actually
thought so.
I'm very proud of this particular track because even though I've been a recording artist for many years and I've been a singer-songwriter and I've put out full-on songs with full orchestration and bands, I've never embarked on anything quite like this. So this is the first time I've had the opportunity to really sink into my gifts and like channel something. And so this particular piece of music feels like it was channeled. I was definitely in some kind of trance when it came out. And I wasn't on anything. And so it's completely done by me in terms of the instrumentation and all of the sounds, the production, the getting all the levels right, all the bits and bobs. So I'm very pleased with myself for that. And the only other being that is introduced on this track was the crickets, and all the other things were me. So the crickets are the debut.
That's what I thought. I had a feeling. I was like, I think I hear crickets. But the sounds that you made also for birds, I think the cello part just really gives you that soaring feeling, and then also the chatters there, crickets and birds, and just that communication is like you put us in the park. And, Tanya Ortega, the founder of the National Parks Arts Foundation, and Nancy and I have had these conversations for years about how the arts take the parks outside of the parks to people that may not ever get to experience them. And I think that's a beautiful thing, even for conservation purposes, that we're not all trampling through the parks. We want people in parks, but this is this other way. And also just it just shows many sides, right? When you do something like this. So I think you put us in that, you put us in it. And
Thank
how many
you.
people think of the riverbeds too, and that they are corridors for wildlife, the riverbed.
Well, my intention is to heal people through music. So I'm really intending that this piece of music gets to be heard by people who are in hospital beds or in care or who need healing, because there is something very healing about this particular piece, and it being an instrumental piece as well. It's very unique.
Yeah, I feel like you could do yoga to it.
Yeah. I'd be quite happy to hear it used in yoga studios.
Yeah, don't ask me to do the yoga properly, but I can try. I may fall down, but I need to get back into that kind of thing. But I think for stretching, and you know, it's so interesting because we watch animals stretch all the time. You know,
Yeah.
cats and dogs, and you look at birds, they stretch their legs out. And I'm like, gosh, us humans should learn to do that with our bodies, and music helps that. That's a facilitator for us.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. It's really good for us to surround ourselves with things that help us relax in this very fast-paced world. I'm ever so grateful to Tanya Ortega for setting it up so that I could spend time in the park. It was definitely what I needed, and I recognize it's often what other people need generally, is to spend more time in nature. And like you said, if they can't go into nature, to be able to experience it through sound is second best.
Well, it's also the time you are allowed to have to be able to have those experiences, to find the right time for when the birds are there, or the bats when you're out there, right? Were you playing to the bats under a bridge, as I recall?
Yeah,
Um,
I did record myself, and I ended up deleting the recording. But the recording was of me playing to the bats, and I played them Bach Cello Suites #1. I like a few parts,
But
and
yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
they just
being
seem
able
responsive.
to explore. And how did you know what you wanted to do for the first single? What happened that you went, this is this piece of music? Were you listening to the birds? Because there's a flow. It's almost like there's water, even though it's dry. So it's like you're remembering ancient times in this piece. To
Well,
me, that's my
yeah,
thing.
so it's curious because when I write, I don't really set out with any kind of agenda. It's the writing comes from a feeling and an experience. And I think I might have mentioned this in the last interview, that I was sitting in the house looking at magazines of how Tucson used to be. And I was looking at the pictures of the dry riverbeds, and I was tuning in with that. And the pictures were obviously old ones, so they were historical. And it tuned me in with the history of the land. And I felt my whole being merging with the land mass of Tucson, and the
Mm.
feeling of the wildlife and just everything out there, and the desert. And it's the first time I've really tuned in with the desert, even though I've been living here for 10 or so years now, and I've been to beautiful places like Sedona. This was different. I felt like I really tuned in with the area in Tucson. I have no idea why, but it was very significant for me.
Yeah, I think is something magic about the desert. And I always talk about that. People look
Absolutely.
at me like, what? Yeah, I don't know. There's something about the riverbeds because, you know, it's used by animals, hikers use it. But, you know, the ancient indigenous people use that as part of that history. So I'm wondering if you picked that up a little bit too, you
Yes, I
know?
feel like it was all there because in the piece there's a kind, it's come out a bit kind of bittersweet in some way, I think. When I listen to it, it's very melancholy, and it has a little bit of longing, but it also resolves towards the end. It kind of goes up into the sky at the end. But there's
Mm,
something about the way it came out that embodies more than one emotion for me. And
mm.
I guess that's what I was channeling, was the feeling of the land and the people and the history and the wildlife and all those changes over the course of time.
Have you ever heard the album Passages by Ravi Shankar and Philip Glass?
Sure, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I may have done. I know most music by hearing it rather than
Well,
names.
I think I'd love you to listen to it because I think
Mm,
you'll connect with it. And I
mhm,
even like the title Passages, so it goes with what you're doing. But
mm,
there's a lot of cello in that. And obviously, you know, the sitar with Robbie. And it is, you hear the sounds of place. It's a sense of place album, even though it's a studio album. It is, yeah, it is something that what you've just done is of that caliber. And you have to go listen to it so you understand what I'm saying, because
mhm.
it is magnificent album for those who enjoy that kind of music. That I think what you just did, I wish I could have the two of them meet you
Well,
and play,
I'm
you
very
know.
touched. Thank you, Lisa. That's a very high
You know,
compliment.
it is really it's an amazing thing. And I love music that has this sense of place and where you're getting the nature, but you also have the human feeling where it's on a positive. So it felt positive and it
Yeah.
has some movement, you know? And so I feel like you do bring in the river source in there. Like even though it's
Mhm.
dry, that you're remembering the times where the river flows through.
Yeah, and I guess as well, if you think about creativity in terms of elements, is water. Water is creativity. That's the element that's chosen for describing creativity. Music being created is bringing the water element into everything. And water element is emotions as well. So there's a thread there.
Yeah, there's also have you heard of El Shankar? He's a violinist from India that he also did something similar. He did an album. We interviewed him, I'm going to say it was right before the pandemic. And he did an album. It's like a sense of place of this monastery temple in India that got flooded and his town. And it brought in all these sounds of the area, but not overdone. And I think that's the thing that what I love about this song is that it's not overdone. It's not like, here's 20,000 birds all in, you know what I mean? It's this very subtle way of how nature works, this
ebbs and flows.
Yeah. And he did that. And so did, like the Philip Glass thing that I'm talking about and Ravi, the passages. It's the same kind of thing where you absolutely can tell. Here's the thing. It's when someone paints an animal from a zoo or like takes a photo of an animal in a zoo and thinks they got a really cool shot of an animal, like a wild animal. But if you see the animal in the wild, you'll realize that that's not a wild animal unless you wanted to say it's in captivity. And be proud of that. So you can tell the difference. It's authentic, versus like someone took the time to really study and be in that moment or maybe meditate in that place and truly connect and take that time to do it. Whereas like someone that goes to a zoo, takes a few snaps and maybe paints a painting and the animal is fat and full of antibiotics versus the animal in the wild that's a little skinnier and lean and full of scars, but like full of stories. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah,
I know I'm going to get people mad at me about zoos.
I feel that what you're saying is very poignant towards the spiritual world, and it's the spirit that's embodied in the wild animal versus being in a captured environment. It kind of breaks the spirit down, makes one numb to the spiritual experience. And this song that I've just released, I feel I was most connected to the spiritual realm when I wrote it and recorded it. And I was on my own, so I was completely in my own energy as well, and completely open channel to what I was receiving. So it was a very special experience for me.
I love it. So can people buy the single?
I'm actually not sure. I probably should have released it on Bandcamp beforehand, but I got overexcited and wanted to release it before any more time passed because it's been so long. So it's possible they can buy it as a download.
Okay.
Through the social media channels, through the music media channels, so Amazon, iTunes.
Amazon, yeah. Amazon you can.
Spotify.
Amazon,
Yeah.
They can buy it through there. I know that. So the music world today is so weird on how distribution works, but
Very strange.
People listen and then you hope you get a teeny like piece of the penny.
Well, it's kind of boils down to not enough to buy a cup of tea.
That's why I said the little piece of a penny.
Yeah, but really, for me, it's more important that people hear the music and feel affected by it, and that it helps to improve or enrich their life in some way. I trust that money will come to me in other ways. So.
Yeah. I think I'm always like, everyone support the artist, but there's something. That's where the integrity and the authenticity comes through in this song too. It's like, I hope you do an album of it. Honestly, I would love a whole album of.
Thank you.
Do you ever see doing that?
I do. I have a whole bucket list of different albums I want to do. I have about 3 albums worth of like written, finished songs that I intend to record and release. And they may be next. I'm still looking to work with the right drummer. So I'm still looking for the right drummer to appear out of thin air, which I'm sure they will. And then I intend to do an ambient album, which would be something along the lines of what I released for today. And then, for those listening on Thursday, I released this one on 1st of July.
That's right.
And then I also plan to work with a ambient beats producer and create something like a dance beat type album using my voice and possibly some cello. And
I
then
love the cello.
and there's another project I have going, which is doing a sound healing album, which will be very specifically sound healing. That's another thing. But yeah, there's
With the
ideas.
sound healing, like what you say with this song, you want it to be like a healing because it felt really good when I listened to it. I felt I'm calm now. Like I feel centered. So when you look at something that heals, do you go, okay, this is a good healing just because you feel good when you listen to it, even though you created it? Or are there specific sounds that go with healing, like with there's the chakras, right? I know music and chakras go hand in hand. And if you're working on a chakra and you have the wrong sound, that could be a little iffy.
So that's a really good question, Lisa. So generally, my personal opinion is that as long as what you're producing is in harmony, if all the notes are in harmony with themselves, with each other, if the resonant frequencies are matching, then to me that's something that the body receives as opening and soothing. Whereas if there's something that's not in harmony or not in tune, so if something is slightly off, then it can throw the whole thing off. So, I'm very big on tuning and pitch, and I don't think it necessarily has to be in a particular, like I know people say 432 or 342 or 369. Those ones are great, but all the other ones can work as long as what's being done is in harmony with itself.
I like that. And harmony is healing.
Absolutely.
Because that's unity, right? Okay, let me ask you a different question on that level, right? In harmony. So we've been doing a lot of work on the importance of community through things like parks and travel and how people can come together over a shared love of something and create community over that, even if they may not agree on all things. Through something that they care about and love, they can create community and feel better and be productive and get things done that they want. Okay. I'm just putting it, but it's what I'm talking about is also very specific, but it also works in medicine. And I just interviewed Dr. Marshall Runge. He's a cardiologist, a medical expert, just wrote a book for Forbes on the medical world of what's happening with AI and all of this stuff and how far we've gone in not taking care of our bodies, basically. And we talked about this community part of it and how communities of like, for example, if you need to get out walking every day for your health and your mind. I love solo walks and dog walks personally because dogs show you things that you may be blind to, and
they give you purpose.
Yeah, and they're fun. I love dog walks. But anyway, we were talking about that need of community where a community, like if you have a group in the neighborhood that walks every morning, the chances of you getting your butt out the door and taking a walk is 90% higher than if you're going to do it on your own. And you go, oh, you know what? I'm just going to watch this cartoon on telly. Or, oh, yeah, because you're on the show, I just said telly. I can't believe it. Or, you're going to get caught up in something else. It's easy to give ourselves not take these steps towards healing.
Absolutely.
Right?
If you have people around you, you can be holding yourself accountable to something.
Right. Now, what do you think of music being part of your personal community as an individual on a healing path? That it's beyond a tool, because I think it's so personal that it goes beyond like it's helping me heal. Like there's things that help us heal, like take your vitamin or do your exercise, whatever, but it's lonely. That's lonely and cold, quite frankly. And so you can have your healing people, but you also need something that is immersive and personal and like a dog. I'm going back to the dog who doesn't talk back and argue or mess with you or have any kind of agenda. So the music is exactly what it is. And if you connect with that, I feel like it's beyond a tool.
Yeah, there's definitely an ebb and flow though with music. I mean, because I live pretty much on my own, spend time in a very introvert way with my music, creating it and perfecting things on the instruments. And then I'll also have a separate time where I bring it out to the world, where I'm doing gigs, where I'm communicating through music. And to me, the language of music is absolutely universal, and it is the easiest way for me personally to communicate with people. It's my chosen language. But
So
also that again, it's the same as like what you were saying about people's tastes or what they like and dislike. I live in a neighborhood where there's a through few roads away, there's a community where one of the houses plays extremely loud music, and I'm talking like I have my doors and windows closed and I'm lying in my bed with earplugs in and I can still hear the bass. And to me, that's like it's a violation for my body to feel that, and it's upsetting. So music can also be very violent in the wrong hands or just at the wrong volume, quite frankly.
Yeah, like there's I like to know, like, I'm going to put this on because, like, to me, new music is so exciting. And it's like, to me, it's like, let me take time. Like, when and listen to your song, I listened to it like a few times now, and I put headset on, everyone leave me alone, don't interrupt, kind of just, I want to hear it, and have that experience. And then it becomes, okay, I'm feeling this way. This song will really make me feel this. I know that. So it does become a piece of medicine. Or your friend that you can't call your friend at 1 a.m, maybe, even though you want to, you don't want to quite do that unless it's a true emergency. So you'll put the song on because it will help,
Right.
But what song is going to do it. You already know. And it's interesting because you don't have to keep a list. I know we make playlists on Spotify and all that all the time, but your body already knows what song it wants. It knows.
Yeah. Sometimes if I can't sleep, I put dance music on.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's helpful. Like I'd wake up then. Sorry, it would not put me to sleep. I'd be the opposite way. I'd be like, all right, let's party.
Well, I find that if I can't sleep, it's because there's too much tension in my body.
Oh, yeah.
And so I need to move it to get the tension out. And then I can exhaust myself to sleep.
It's the best exercise other than walking dogs and hiking and swimming.
Yeah.
Dance, I think, is one of the best forms of release and exercise anyone can do. And it's honest, it's honest. If you're on your own, dance like no one's watching kind of thing. That's the honest, primal thing we can do. And that's where music is. So, wow. I didn't know we were going to go into all this, man. Are we getting heavy or what?
We're just exploring and come full
Yeah,
circle.
exploring the world of music. But it is the music. I don't know. Music is absolutely everything. And I love that you're also doing this song with thinking of birds, right? And that's our music, isn't it? Like you wake up in the morning and my first thing is, where are the birds? That's what I want. Or where's the dog? Or the cat.
So around this neighborhood, there are mourning doves. And when I'm coming into the physical, I hear them. And to me, it sounds like they're saying, pick up the phone. And sometimes that changes to different words. That's generally what they say.
I hear cuckoo-ca-joo. Cuckoo-ca-joo. Beatles thing. Anyway, yeah. But you know what? Nancy and I have been on the East so much. And yes, they have little doves, right? But they're like, not like what we have in Arizona. And we were recently in Texas and we'll wake up and we're like, oh my God, it's a dove. It's a dove. And suddenly we get all excited. It's a dove. We're hearing doves, I know that sounds weird when, you're the morning chorus, dawn's chorus or whatever you want to call it changes as you travel and doves dominated,
Wow, that's awesome.
It is. Well, the mockingbirds to me are my thing. They're my buddies. They hang out with me everywhere.
They have some lovely tunes, don't they?
They copy everybody, man. They copy everything. And blackbirds and grackles. I don't know if you get, you get grackles.
Yeah, we got grackles here, yeah.
Man, aren't they? They're related to starlings, I think. And starlings do all kinds of guttural things. Like they can sound like they've got water and rocks in their throat.
Yes, yeah.
Wow.
Amazing.
Well, very good. I'm so excited for you with the single. You feel good. You've accomplished.
I do feel accomplished because when I went and had the park's time, I unfortunately had a pretty bad bike accident at the very tail end. And so it's taken me a while to physically recover from that. So that's why it's taken me so long to get this single out. But also now I'm back in the driver's seat and I'm motivated to do more recording and really get back into the swing of things.
Well, I'm glad you're healing, and healed because I remember that. I remember doing the podcast, and
God.
I remember that your last, yeah.
I was honey.
I remember, and you're like, I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah,
Don't talk about it. Let's
it was
just
pretty
move to
bad.
the positive. Yeah, you were a real trooper. Everyone, Rachel, I would say Mari Kimber.com. So it's Mari. So all of that is linked in the episode. So RachelMariKimber.com. I want to say Mari. I think I said that to you before. Mari.
Rachel Mari Kimber. Yeah.
Mari. I don't know why I said Marie suddenly, but it's Mari to me. But yeah. RachelMariKimber.com. It's go to her website there. And are there shows happening during the summer for you, or performance-wise in Arizona?
Yeah, I have various gigs lined up. I also play cello for a band called Black Forest Society, and I've got a couple of gigs with them. So around the place, I've got, I think, some in Phoenix at a really nice restaurant called Urban Fresh. So I'm there on a Wednesday at the moment. And then some up north at DA Ranch, and some other, I think, Pace Spring Cellars maybe. So there's a few going on. If people want to come and hear me live, check out the website and find there's gig listings on the website. That will have all the information. And also they can join me on Instagram or Facebook. I'd be happy to have you join me there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's great to reconnect with you, and also to hear the song. Everyone, again, it's called Birds Follow Dry Riverbed, again, by Rachel Mari Kimber. And that, again, go to her website. It's linked in the episode notes, and it's on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, all those places. So get it wherever you get your music. Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Lisa. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for joining us here on Big Blend Radio's first Friday Toast to the Arts and Park show with the National Parks Arts Foundation. Learn more about their amazing park artist residency programs. Go to nationalparksartsfoundation.org. Keep up with our shows at bigblendradio.com.